Yoimiya is an upcoming 5-star Pyro bow user coming to take Amber's job, and her entire career, in fact. Despite the lack of history behind Overload team comps given how inefficient they are at dealing consistent damage, Yoimiya seems to be a character who will break that wall straight down, or like, blow it up with a firework or something. Allow me to explain. Given the nature of her kit, a lot of players have drawn skepticism as to how good Yoimiya will be, which is actually unusual given that most 5-star releases haven't really had much buzz about being weak or underwhelming. This is mostly because of the fact that Yoimiya's kit is a daring new approach by MiHoYo for a few reasons, the most notable being, despite her status as a main DPS, her ultimate does next to nothing to benefit her directly. This is because the Aurus Blaze tag applied to enemies by her burst can't actually be triggered by Yoimiya herself. On top of this, being a bow user, she's an explicitly single target damage dealer with all other aspects of her kit, making her extremely inefficient for a lot of Genshin's content. So where's the but? Well, the but is Beidou. Like the counterclaim, not an actual but. Anyways, for all of Yoimiya's weaknesses, it's interesting to see that Beidou, a relatively average 4-star character in most situations, is the perfect remedy for almost all of said weaknesses. For starters, if you didn't know, the overload reaction where you mix Pyro and Electro causes AoE explosions. This in and of itself isn't that special, but Beidou's burst is essentially just an Electro version of Xingqiu's burst. It's an easy way to apply Electro to all your teammates for 15 seconds by chaining Electro Lightning to enemies hit by normal attacks for the whole duration. That was a lot of words. Let me simplify that. Beidou's burst allows Yoimiya to freely trigger this AoE reaction on her normal attacks for 15 seconds while she's infused with Pyro. On top of causing the overload reaction on any enemy hit, at C1, Beidou is also now applying a shield to Yoimiya during her burst, and at C2, the burst is now jumping to multiple more targets at once, which just means more explosions, which is awesome. However, the best thing about Beidou, and one of the reasons I chose Beidou over Fischl for this duo, in case anyone was wondering why, is the way Beidou is able to interact with Yoimiya's burst. When Yoimiya hits an enemy with her burst, one random enemy is tagged with the Aurus Blaze AoE thingy. While the tag is active, triggering it causes the explosion, and when the tagged enemy dies, the tag transfers to a random enemy. This makes it next to impossible to squeeze out consistent damage with the burst using characters like Fischl or Xingqiu, who can't just attack everything at once. But that's exactly why Beidou is a perfect enabler for Yoimiya, because she kinda can hit everything at once with her burst. Using Beidou's Stormbreaker, you can constantly trigger the Aurus Blaze tag while playing as Yoimiya, while already triggering the overload reactions. So basically, not even Klee can Fish Blast like Yoimiya and Beidou can. That is to say that Yoimiya and Beidou will be causing an insane amount of AoE damage together. You can also throw Fischl into the mix to make the most of Beidou's C6 Electro Defense Shred, which should really increase your damage output with this comp in general. I think it's a really interesting pair to see because we've never really had a meta overload comp, and Electro in general has never really been that outstanding, but with Yoimiya coming to the game, that might actually change. Anyways, if you want to keep up with news, updates, and info on Genshin, feel free to subscribe and or join the Dragonfly Swarm Discord server, cause there's some really cool people to hang out with in there. The link is below.